What if instead you can hear all your secrets and your cries for help? What happens when the place that was supposed to keep you safe can't protect you anymore? And what goes through the mind of a 14-year-old girl who feels like no one likes her just because of mutual misunderstanding? Well, all of this and so much more is in today's book. Today's topic is the worldwide known Hungarian book Abigail by Magda Szabó. If you're new here, hi, my name is Petra. I'm a Hungarian living in Budapest, and welcome to the first episode of discussing Hungarian literature in English. Now, just to set the expectations, it's not going to be some very academic discussion. Think of it more like chatting over a nice tea or coffee over a book that we both like or hate. It doesn't really matter. I'll share my thoughts, some background information, and why I think this book is so special. Sounds good? Let's get started. Magda Szabó is one of Hungary's most known and celebrated female authors, and it's easy to see why. She was born in 1917 and lived through some of Hungary's most turbulent times: the Second World War, the Communist era, and the Revolution of 1956. Her experiences definitely shaped her writing, and you can feel that in Abigail as well. Fun fact, her first word translated into English was, in fact, the door or ajtó in Hungarian, which also made it to the New York Times top 10 list. Most of her works draws inspiration from her own life, like The Well or Für Alice. She often explored women's fate and relationships. The Danaid and Pilatus are perfect examples for that. But now let's talk about Abigail, because this book is something truly special. So Abigail is inspired some of Magda Szabó's own life experiences. The strict boarding school of the Matula in the book is based on the famous Dóczi Girls' School in Debrecen, where Szabó studied for 12 years and later returned as a young teacher. She even admitted that this school served as the basis for Abigail. Another detail is that the character of König was modeled after her own teacher in the Dóczi Girls' School, a man who was misunderstood and ridiculed for a long time, just like König in the books. Abigail is set in the Second World War and follows the life of a girl named Gina, a 14-year-old girl from Budapest who's sent to this strict boarding school in Árkod, which, if you check it online, is now a town in Serbia, but these are not identical, these are not the same. Árkod in the books is just a fictional location. Gina doesn't understand why her father, a general, sends her to this school, and for the first part of the books she feels very lonely and out of space. She pities the other girls and she thinks that they are extremely childish, so much so that she betrays them at the very beginning, which leads to them ostracizing her. She tries to run away, but after a talk with her father, she realizes that she has to stay because the war and her father's positions mean that she's only safe there. Things start to change when Gina experiences the mysterious power of Abigail, a statue in the backyard that seems to leave her messages and ask for her help. But as the war intensifies, Gina's life is turned upside down. Her father doesn't show up for months, and her suitor from home, Ferry Kunz, tries to convince her to run away. When the war reaches the school, Gina is forced to flee with the help of a former student, and at the end, Gina realizes who her real savior and helper was. Abigail is full of dramatic twists and turns. The biggest and most unexpected change of perspective occurs when the plot changes from a girl's novel to a historical one. When Gina realizes why she has to stay in the Matula and what difficulties she has to face because of the war. What I think is the most outstanding about Abigail is that while we see the dramatic twists and the difficulties of war, we experience this through the everyday life of teenage girls. Magda Szabó perfectly portrays what goes through the mind of a young girl trying to meet her father's and the school expectations while still being a child. This passage on page 56 is a perfect example for that. If you don't mind, I will read out loud some passages, some of my favorite parts of this book in the next segment, so if you haven't read it, maybe you will be tempted to read it. This is, by the way, from the chapter named The Legend of Abigail. This was the first time Gina had ever thought about what it meant that her father was able to pay her school fees, however considerable they might be, or had reflected on the difference that had made to her daily life. It had never occurred to her that others might have to be on their best behavior, be submissive at all times and respect the rules, or be denied the chance to finish their time in a school where they were being educated for a minimal fee or none at all. But even now, she was listening with only half an ear to what the other two were saying. She was wondering how she could evade Susanna's vigilance by writing to Auntie Mimo and slipping a covered message for Ferry into a text that would certainly be censored. I think this is a perfect example of how she starts to think about her privileged position, but almost immediately forgets about it and tries to rebel. It's so human and so typical to teenagers to think like that, and I think that's what makes this book so special. Another thing I love is when Szabó uses flashbacks from the perspective of the future. It's such a unique way to show Gina's growth and the fates of the other characters. Let me read you an example from the chapter documents on page 287. Years later, when Gina thought back to the events of that fateful December and those first few months of the new year, up to that moment at the end of March 1944, when she finally left the fortress, she often asked herself if things would have turned out differently, if she had been stronger, if she had dealt better with that period of isolation, or shown greater self-discipline, and she had repeated bouts of tearful self-recrimination. Abigail had told her many times by then that what happened to her father was in no way due to her, and had nothing to do with Banki's act of loyal friendship, her own failure in the Bible knowledge test, the stormy atmosphere of that Christmas, or even the events of that memorable March evening. The words whispered on that chilly violet-scented evening were not the ones that betrayed her father. That had been done long before, by the person from the counter-espionage unit who, as they later discovered, had been following the movements of the general and his family for over a year. Once they had tracked her down, it would have made no difference where anyone phoned the general in his villa from. His enemies had long known exactly what he was up to. It was irrelevant even that, thanks to Banki's letter, they had known since Christmas that she was hiding in Arkod. This part shows how Gina struggles with guilt years later, unable to let go of the thought that she could have changed things. It's heartbreaking, but also so real. Don't forget to write down your favorite parts of the book. You don't have to write an essay about it, that's not what I want. A simple comment will do. For now, I'll share mine. This is in the chapter named The Statue Speaks. It's on page 177. Yeah. She raised the lid of the piano and started to pick her way through a particularly difficult psalm. In the greatness of thy wrath, do not chastise me. There was something they didn't show us in that news film we saw. All that blood was shed to no purpose. Do not chastise me, O Lord. Auntie Mimo knows nothing about these things. In his lessons on national defense, Mr. Kalmar says that this person who is trying to undermine public morale, as you look upon me and grieve in your heart, is a traitor. The person he thinks of as a traitor is actually a hero, and I have been entrusted to his care. He must be the one who left the leaflets on Mitzi Horn's pew and who wrote those words on the monument to the sorrows of Hungary. Kalmar is quite wrong. They have all been missold. Do not chastise me, O Lord. I can't let them track me down here. I must make myself as indistinguishable from the others as a drop of water in a stream. In thy great wrath, so that my father can go about his work without worrying about me. I cannot take the slightest risk that they might use me to blackmail him. In thy great wrath, do not chastise me, O Lord. We must try to save the lives of our soldiers. The war was started for all the wrong reasons. My father's associates are trying to save the country. As you look upon me and grieve in your heart, I shall be strong, I shall be wise, I shall be patient. If only my father's enterprise can succeed, and may we all get out of this alive. Do not chastise me, O Lord. I selected this piece that is, in my opinion, one of the most human things I've ever read in a book. It captures perfectly how our minds work when we're overwhelmed. So many thoughts racing, but we still have to do our tasks, so we're basically on autopilot. Now it's your turn to tell me about your favorite parts of the book. Let me know in the comments. All in all, I have to say that this book is absolutely phenomenal. I really enjoyed reading it in Hungarian, but the English translation was just as beautiful. It faithfully reflects the writer's original style, which is amazing. I even read the first 2 chapters in English and in Hungarian simultaneously, and I was truly shocked how well the translation captures Szabó's original style. That was the Hungarian version. This is very old, and maybe you haven't seen the teaser video. I showed this book. It's very old, but I love it. And if I have to say, I'd recommend Abigail to anyone who loves historical fiction and coming-of-age stories, but be warned that even though this book is about teenage girls, it's not an easy read. It's really emotional and moving and full of dramatic twists. If you read it, I'm sure you will finish it in no time because you just want to know what happens next. If you read this book, let me know in the comments whether you liked it or not. And if you're thinking about getting your own copy, I will leave links in the description where you can buy it in ebook and paper form as well. Now, you might be wondering, what's next on our reading list? My next choice is Journey by Moonlight from Antal Szerb. It's a book I haven't read yet, not even in Hungarian, so I'm going in completely blind, just like some of you might be. I chose this one because it's widely available and the reviews are quite promising. I will leave a link to it in the description so you can get your own copy as well. My plan is to talk about it in early June, so you have plenty of time to get it and read it. I'm really curious to see what it's about. Let me know in the comments if you've already read it or you're planning to. Alright, that was it for today. Let me know your thoughts about Abigail in the comments. What was your favorite part? Did you like it or are you tempted to start reading it now? Don't forget to like and hype the video if you enjoyed watching it and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any related future videos. And as always, see you in the next one. Bye!